All right, JoeyRitter.com, on Twitter at Joey Ritter. Great guest today. I got Mike Herrera, bassist and vocalist from the band MxPx. Such a thrill to have you here. I appreciate you taking the time to do this. So let's mention you're going to be at Crocodile Rock in Allentown on Friday, November 2nd. Listed as MxPx All-Stars with Unwritten Law, another amazing band. Talk to me a little bit, what exactly is MxPx All-Stars?
MxPx All-Stars is, it's me singing, playing bass, but Tom and Yuri don't tour anymore. They got real jobs, so I have my other buddies from various, depending on where we're touring, I'll have buddies from, like, say, Tumbledown. The Tumbledown guys are going to be with me, which is my other band that I play with. I play guitar in. They're going to be with me playing the tour, and it's cool because, I mean, I've been playing with those guys, so it kind of feels like a real band. We get to do some things that we don't do normally with Tom and Yuri. A little more instrumentation, a little like more improv. It's I don't know. I haven't quite done it yet because I'm about to head out on this tour. And I'm always trying to change how I do things. Like I've been touring with this band in Europe with MxPx, and they've been my backing band, and it's been really fun and really cool. I don't know, it's kind of opened up a whole new door to like a new version of what MxPx is now. In my opinion, I'm not going to say it's better or worse or whatever, it's different and it's something fresh. It's like you get to hear songs that you get to hear me singing them, so it sounds like MxPx, but it's got something different. It's got something new, a lot more solos and just more of a rock and roll show.
Right.
I think.
Well, those band members certainly aren't slouches by any means. So yeah, I mean it's gonna be great. So you got a new album called Plans Within Plans, and Mike, I got to say, I mean this is just what the doctor ordered. I mean it's not to downplay your previous releases before this, but I mean this is just such a good raw classic MxPx sound. The songs, just right off the bat with Aces Up and Nothing Left and Lucky Guy. I mean, it just kind of takes me back to when I discovered your band in '96 on MTV's 120 Minutes. That was when I first saw you guys. So been a fan since then. And actually, you mentioned Yuri. If there's one thing that's evident on this new album, it's how amazing of a drummer Yuri is. I don't know if it's just better production on the drums or something, but he sounds amazing on this new CD. Can you talk to me about working with Yuri?
Yeah, Yuri is an amazing drummer, and he's, he really learned a lot, coming up over the years about, just being a solid drummer, hitting consistently, hitting really hard. Like when we were doing Move to Bremerton, that song Move to Bremerton off Life in General, Steve Gravac kicked his ass in the studio. He literally played that song for 6 hours straight. Oh, wow. And we went to lunch and came back and we're like, okay, now you're ready to record, right? So like you get these new bands, there's new bands are great, but I'm speaking more like new to the studio bands, not new music or whatever, but bands that are kind of like new to the studio don't realize that you got to practice, you got to know exactly what's going on before you hit record. And I do the same thing. Like when I'm working on a song, I'll usually just, play through it, not even near a microphone, and just really kind of figure out what it is I want it to be. And then I go to the studio. So with Yuri, he just, over the years, really learned just following that click. We use a click track all the time now. I don't know, he's the human drum machine. That's what we call him.
Well, people don't realize, drummers can be a dime a dozen, but to find a drummer that does that, classic that beat, it's so hard to do. And I don't know if you play in an hour set or something, but just to keep it up that long and be that tight, he's so underrated. When the subject of punk rock drummers come up, and especially on this new album. It's just his drumming just gets me so excited. It's awesome. So
yeah, one more thing about his drumming. On this new record, I think another reason why it is what it is, I really just pushed him to just go crazy. I was like, okay, this part, just give me a really crazy fill. But he does these things, but he makes it sound so controlled, which is really cool. Like it's it's not all over the place time-wise. Like it's like this. So I don't even have to use Beat Detective or
Right.
anything for Yuri. I just push record. He plays with a click every time. And he was listening to these songs about a day or two in advance. So I would send him a demo, say, all right, this is what we're going to record when you come in Saturday or Sunday or whatever. He was pretty much recording on the weekends for this album. And so I would send him the template. He would come in the next day or two, and he would know the songs. Like, he would just listen to them a few times and just, this is what I MxPx, it's pretty simple music, and we've been playing together and recording records together for so long that for me, I knew exactly what I wanted it to sound like as a first time producer of our full length album for
Okay.
MxPx. So for me, it was just fun.
Okay. Well, I mean, and it totally comes across as a fun record. I mean, you can tell, I don't know what it is. I can't put my finger on it, but you can just tell that this album just has something extra,
I think we didn't try. That's probably.
So, as I just mentioned, when I first was introduced to you guys, it was on 120 Minutes when you guys premiered Chick Magnet. Okay? Mm-hmm. Now, back then, 120 Minutes, that's how I discovered new bands. That's, if I liked a song on 120 Minutes, I go out, I buy the record. And, there's really just nothing like that in 2012. I mean, there's so many outlets for people to discover new music. You got a schmuck like me sitting in his basement turning people on to new music. I mean, anybody can do it these days. Do you think it was better maybe back then when you kind of had that MTV powerhouse? Or, do you think it's better today?
I mean, it was better. This is kind of how I see, like, then versus now. It's always better for somebody then, and it's always better for somebody now.
Right.
So, I mean, if you're in there, if you're, like, being played, and, then it's better for whoever's being played then. But, and for the listener that likes whatever it is they're playing, it's better. But I just think it's different. It's different. I agree with you that it's definitely... maybe it's now, instead of 120 minutes, it'd be like 30 seconds. Yeah. They just play each snippet of a bunch of videos all in 30 seconds, and that's all you get. I thought it was strange when what was it called? What was it? Carson Daly Live?
I was actually just going to say that.
Yeah.
TRL
they would take half the song, right?
Yeah,
so. And I was, I always thought that was weird, but now, where we are now with technology and music, it seems totally normal.
Right.
It's just like, okay, quick, let's just hear these throwaway songs that we're not going to really have, it's not on anybody's iPod right now. Guaranteed most of that music that got really popular during that Carson Daly time or whatever. I mean, Justin Timberlake has gone on to do amazing things, of course, but, the talent does show through, I think.
But even so much as... they'd have, bands come in the studio and play live and, just check it out live. And even if there was no audience or, TRL kids going crazy, I mean, it was still cool just to see that because there was no YouTube or anything like that to check out bands live, before you bought the CD.
Absolutely.
So, but I agree. It's definitely better for some people now. And go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I love YouTube and being able to check out bands online. A lot of times it's a bummer though because you're not really sure if you're going to see something that really represents this artist or band well. Mm-hmm. Especially being an artist myself, going on and seeing okay, I just played that show last night. That sounds horrible. It sounded pretty good when we were there. But, you're putting it through this little cell phone, microphone, and
right.
Sometimes you can get a pretty good video out of it, but a lot of times people just kind of hold it upright. The skinny video,
Yep,
I hate the vertical video. It's terrible.
Well, that's an interesting point because, you would tour in the 90s, and if you didn't have such a great set, out of sight, out of mind, and now you got people holding up phones and stuff. I mean, is that a good thing that, maybe it might expose your music to more people that wouldn't have otherwise known? Or,
I think with music it works because, I mean, for the most part, people realize, okay, it's a tiny little phone and it's distorted, so it probably sounded better when they were there. just, do I like what I'm seeing or not? Or, you kind of like move on, because I don't know why people, I understand why people film it. I don't know why they film something and it comes out really horrible and then they put it online.
Right, right.
There's no point in that for me. Like, I do, like, if I see a cool band, I'll film a couple clips, but I never put it online. I just have it in case I want to, like, hey, check out this band or whatever. But I usually don't even end up watching the stuff that I film. I'll just, like, erase it later. But just in case something cool happens, you've got it. And I think that's sort of like that mentality of, I have to film just in case something crazy happens.
Yeah, yeah.
And you find that more and more with say, like, politics and law enforcement videos, that you kind of have that feeling that all these things were happening before, just now people are actually capturing it on their phone.
Yeah, and just like getting bullied in the playground, something like that. But my rule of thumb on filming live bands is, if it's a band I'm really into and I want to see, I'm not going to sit there and hold up my cell phone or flip video and take video of it. But if it's like a band that I'm kind of, just out with friends seeing, then yeah, I mean, I'll film it and keep a record for myself. But that's my rule of thumb. So
everybody's different, and that's cool. I mean, like, the thing about music is, you go and you want to hear the same songs over and over. You want to hear songs It's not really like that with a lot of other things. You don't go and see movies a bunch of times unless you really like the movie. But for the most part, people see a movie and they see it again maybe a couple years later after they've forgotten everything. I always forget plots to movies. It's like, if I see a movie, I totally have seen this, but I won't remember anything about it. I don't know what it is about my brain. I just can't keep it all in there.
So you just celebrated your 20-year anniversary as a band, which is remarkable for any band, especially having the same members for 20 years. When you look back, what do you think was the weirdest style you guys had? Like maybe haircuts or clothing that you just kind of cringe when you see the pictures.
There's been plenty of very bad style choices on my part, personally. I think we all kind of, it's funny because as a group, we all sort of, I don't know, evolved together. We started out wearing, I was a skateboarder in high school and in junior high as well, but more so in high school when I was doing the band. So baggy clothes, that was something we wore. Flannel shirts, although I don't think there's a lot of pictures of us in flannel shirts, but I used to wear flannel just because it's cold out, in Washington. Mm-hmm. That was that whole grunge thing, like, oh, you wear flannel, you must be from the Northwest. It's like, well, it's because it's so cold up here. But it's not, even during the summertime in the morning, you want to have some sort of light jacket because it's going to be cold. Yeah. So anyway, that was why, like, some of those choices were made, but for me, I hate seeing myself. Even a year ago, I don't really like seeing what my haircut looked like, or I just hate it. The same goes for musically. I don't like listening to the old stuff that we've done, and I definitely don't. I get a kick out of seeing some videos if it's not too bad, mm-hmm. But a lot of times I don't like watching video of myself. I don't like watching video of myself talking ever. Like, I hate every one of those DVDs. This. Yeah, I'm not going to watch this. I don't like seeing myself talk on film. I always feel like I have a weird sounding voice, and the same goes for when I'm singing as well. Like, I'm never really too happy with how I sound.
Yeah. Well,
somewhat I feel like it's like because I'm hearing it inside my brain or in my head.
I think a lot of people have that same complex. I mean,
maybe, yeah,
because you hear yourself, differently internally. But one thing I wanted to bring up about being a band for 20 years that's so great is the fact that you guys were so young when the band started. I mean, you were 15 years old, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I was 15, and yeah.
You really learned how to play music, harmonize, do everything as the band, started and was playing. And you didn't really have like 5 years to, perfect the instrument. I mean, you were just doing it right away, and that's that's pretty cool.
It's cool, and it also contributes to maybe part of why I can't watch or listen to some of the old stuff. But for me, it would have been better if we would have, like, toured and then got our big break.
Mm-hmm.
But we probably wouldn't, just the way things happened, wouldn't have gotten that chance if we hadn't just, gotten signed to Tooth and Nail, put out a record. I mean, we were working pretty hard before we got signed, but we were working locally. We were going to Portland, Vancouver, Washington, Vancouver, BC as well. We'd go up to Canada every now and then. We kind of had that Northwest thing. We'd cruise around Seattle and of course, play around Bremerton and Kitsap County where we live. But yeah, you can't really get really good unless you just do it over and over and over, and that's touring.
Yeah.
So touring bands versus a band that's just playing on weekends, usually the touring band's going to be a little tighter.
Absolutely. So, do you remember what you were listening to when you were 15? What was playing?
Yeah, I actually, I have to do this interview where I picked 10 songs that sort of like were a huge, influence on me. Not necessarily even musically, just 10 favorite songs, period.
Uh-huh.
I think it's in punk rock. I think it's more, punk songs. But so I'm now just starting to think, which songs am I going to do? Well, obviously The Descendants, Black Flag, Screeching Weasel, The Queers, The Ramones, The Clash. Of course the list can go on, but when you can only choose 5 or 10, you have to make it, okay, these staples.
Right.
But I was listening to, when we started, I was listening to NoFX, Ramones, The Descendants, All, Bad Religion, Op Ivy.
Yep.
I was listening to the Gorilla Biscuits even. I was into hardcore. I was into that kind of stuff. Yeah, I mean, I dabbled with all types of punk rock. From crust, I mean, I'd listen to, like, what is it? I can't even remember the English band, but there's so many, random bands. You'd see a patch and you'd be like, okay, I'm going to check that band out if this dude's listening to him. So a lot of like the music you would check out would be just, you'd go to a show, see somebody wearing a t-shirt. I'm sure it still works like that today, but my cousin got me really into Henry Rollins. She was listening to a lot of just like a little off, pop punk wasn't really a thing back then. It was just punk music or whatever. But when I got into the Descendants and saw All play live, I was just like, this is what I want to do. This is shit. I love it.
Right.
So.
Well, that's all. I mean, every band you mentioned, certainly for me, Screeching Weasel, NoFX, all those bands, and even you guys were big when I was just learning how to play guitar and all that stuff. So it's cool to hear you say that. Now I got to tell you, hopefully, a very quick story about my favorite album of yours, Life in General. So my grandmother, God rest her soul, she didn't drive. She didn't have a license. So when I was like 17 or whatever, I'd have to go pick her up. She lived about 25 minutes, half hour away. So I had all of my cassette tapes, like taped from my CDs and stuff, and I was listening to NoFX, Lagwagon, and, my grandmother would be in the passenger seat just, Joe, what is this? This isn't music. Like, exactly what you think a 70-year-old woman's going to say. And, then, Life in General, I was playing, and as soon as Chick Magnet came on, she just kind of started tapping her toe and snapping her finger and stuff to the beginning, and she's like, now, I like this. You can understand what he's saying, and, I really like this song. So, and then when I would pick her up for future car rides and stuff, she'd request the song. She couldn't remember the name of your band or the song or anything, but, she'd always request that one song that she liked.
Nice.
So,
That's
not only
great.
were you appearing...
Really cool. That reminds me, is like when, when we were doing, say, Teenage Politics, there's a lot of weird songs on that record, and songwriting-wise, like, I would just interject these weird, like, jazz breaks, and that's kind of where Chick Magnet kind of came from, was similar stuff. Like, there's songs on that record that just have like this weird part in the middle of it, and then all of a sudden we'll go back to like the fast punk. Mm-hmm. Chick Magnet was kind of like a part that I made up on tour, and we just never put it in a song. So I just wrote a song, based around the whole thing, rather than just having that be a break in a punk song. But I don't know. I always thought it was strange that we did that, and I'm sure I got it from some band somewhere. I'm sure I ripped it off, but either way, I would always put these little jazz breaks into songs, and Chick Magnet just kind of became its own thing. But
yeah, definitely. So you guys have been touring around forever, and I'm based right outside of Philadelphia. Have you ever got a chance to kind of hang out in Philadelphia, take in the sights, eat a cheesesteak, run up the Rocky Steps?
Oh yeah. One thing I try to do is not every city gives us, with our schedule, sorry, I'm going to start that up. We don't always have time to go everywhere in every city, but over the years, obviously, I've seen almost everything, and there's still more to see. It's a big world, but Philadelphia is a great town. I love it there. I've been all over the place, although I can't say I would be able to drive anywhere without directions. But we've been to all the competing cheesesteak shops.
Yeah.
So I've had some decent cheesesteaks. I've had some amazing ones. I've had some not so good ones. But definitely Philadelphia is the place. Last time we played there this summer for our 20-year anniversary show, and it was probably my favorite show of the whole summer. I just loved it. I don't know if you were there, but
one thing about Philadelphia is once you're in, you're in. I mean, it's a very passionate city. You can kind of tell by the way we root for our sports teams, but once you're in, you're going to be selling tickets here, forever.
Yeah, I mean, the people are great. Like I've gone bar hopping all over the place. I've got some friends that live there, so it's a trip, man. It's a crazy place. I love It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Great show.
Absolutely.
I'm sure everybody loves that show.
Yeah.
Man, I wish we had a show about my town.
Yeah, I mean, what?
It's Always Raining in Bremerton, maybe.
I should know this already, but where is, like, in the geography of Washington? Where is Bremerton?
It is directly west of Seattle. So, picture Washington State. It's got all that water in the left side. I don't know how people are going to be seeing this. Maybe the left side, but we're directly across the water, so you can go down a little bit and drive around. There's a bridge. You can go all the way down through Olympia, which is the capital of Washington State. So there's like a bunch of different ways to get there, but most people just take the ferry. There's ferry boats that go across the water.
How many miles would you say it is from Seattle?
It's less than 14 miles.
Oh, okay.
But it takes a lot longer than driving 14 miles to get there. It's about an hour commute.
Oh, I gotcha. Yeah, I was in Seattle once, and it still is like one of my favorite cities in that I kind of felt at home there. Just walking down the streets and stuff. There's incense coming out of the stores and lots of coffee shops. It seems like a very musical town. People are playing acoustic guitars in the streets and stuff. It just was a cool place. It just had a good vibe. So
yeah, definitely an easygoing place. I mean, there's definitely places you don't want to go, but for the most part, it seems fairly safe. Even there's a lot of crazy people just walking around, yelling, talking to themselves. But for the most part, if you just leave them alone, they're going to leave you alone.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was always funny as a kid, I'd go there as a kid and just be freaked out by homeless people. Of course, I've been all over to a million cities now, and nothing really bothers me. But Philadelphia, man, I always think that's a pretty dense place. Like it feels thick in a different way than New York City. Like it feels like there's a lot going on that you don't see on the surface. I don't know.
Well, I mean, there's North Philadelphia, not the best place in the world. Center City, where City Hall and all the tourist attractions are. You got your homeless people walking around, but generally, yeah. I mean, there's good parts of the city, just like anywhere else, and bad. But it's actually weird because I've been to every tourist attraction, but I've never actually seen the Liberty Bell, which is unbelievable.
Okay. I think I did see that, and I went up the Rocky Steps and done that whole thing. I mean, our very first tour we played Philadelphia at Drexel University.
Oh, okay.
It was 1995. So ever since then, we've always been back. We did a tour with Face to Face. I think it was 97 or 96. 97. It was like our third tour ever. But it was like our first, like, okay, now we're opening for this big band, Face to Face. And they were playing at the Trocadero, and it was the last show of the tour. And we pull up, and this guy goes, "What's the greatest city in the world?" And we're like, "I don't know. We're just kids, We weren't even 21. We couldn't even go to a bar if we wanted to. We were probably, I think at the time, 20. We're like, I don't know. He's like, generosity. And then he goes, "It's the greatest nation in the world. Donation." So we're like,
oh,
hey, okay, all right, here you go.
Wait a second. Was this outside the Troc?
I'm sure the guy's still there. I mean, this was so long ago.
Yeah, I feel like I've heard that line like outside the Troc before. That's weird.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, I've even told the story before. So, and then that later that night, we got introduced to Sloppy Joe. It was all over our van. Face to Face, like, doused our van with Sloppy Joe meat.
Oh. Like raw meat or cooked meat?
It was like just out of a can. So it's like back then, like, bands always used to prank each other. I mean, it doesn't really I mean, I'm sure bands do that, certain types of bands, but back then, like, every tour we'd be pranking each other all the time. And that was a pretty obnoxious one. And then 90 Pound Wuss, I don't know if you even remember that band. They were on Tooth and Nail Records back in the day. We toured with them a lot. Marty, the drummer, took a shit in our hubcaps and put them back on our van. So later on, when we were, like, stopping at the car wash, we had to clean. Luckily, it wasn't me that had to clean it out. I think it was Yuri. He's Yuri's the guy that'll roll up his sleeves and just take it and just do whatever it needs to be done.
How did you even discover that that's what happened? Because if they were, in the wheel.
Well, I think we put some sardines in somebody else's hubcaps, so we knew to check the hubcaps. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Luckily, it's the worst thing that's ever happened.
I would say. Now, I'm going to shift gears a little on you here.
Sure.
Mike, do you have any food oddities? And what I mean by that is, I like to eat pizza with ranch dressing, and that's something that my dad will slap me in the head for, my Italian dad. Do you have any food oddities that things you like that people are like, how could you eat that?
Probably. Let me think. So, to me, ranch dressing with pizza is pretty normal.
Mm-hmm.
Although I don't normally do it, but I would do it if it was bad pizza.
Right, yeah. It's like Elio's or something.
Yeah. So, let me think. Food oddities. I mean, I love Mexican food. I love pretty much all types of food, Asian, everything, even the subcategories.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure. I like. Let's see. Do I have any weird food oddities? Like, what do I like to eat that's kind of gross?
Who are we consulting with over there?
That's Holly, my wife.
I think Holly should make an appearance on the show. I mean, that's
just everything. That's probably my food oddity. It's like almost nothing grosses me out. Almost nothing. Although I've really curbed my foreign food intake. I love Thai food. I love I love whatever. But if I'm in a weird, sketchy place, even if it's in Thailand, I might not jump in with both feet.
Right.
I've had some serious travel sickness issues with eating, like, I don't know, just food that I wasn't used to, drinking the water. Not drinking the water, I always drink bottled water, but it's in there somehow.
Yeah, that's bad enough when it happens in the United States, and when you're in foreign lands, it probably is much worse.
I try to just stick with basic stuff, but I mean, I honestly can eat just about anything, and that's probably an oddity. Most people, I used to hate even something as simple as like sauerkraut. I used to hate that when I was a kid. Now, I mean, I would choose to to eat it right now necessarily, but I could definitely eat it and enjoy it.
Right.
Yeah.
So, you're a child of the 80s. Do you have a favorite 80s sitcom?
I watched Cosby Show.
Mm-hmm.
Watched trying to think of what I mean.
I always wondered why they called it the Cosby Show when it was the Huxtables.
Hmm. Well, obviously,
Because they needed the name to draw viewers in, right?
Bill Cosby, he was a famous guy, so they just called it the Cosby Show. It worked.
Absolutely did. What do you think the greatest movie soundtrack is of all time?
Dirty Dancing, probably.
Okay, yeah, that's a good one.
Good one. I mean, I remember. I mean, I watched the movie. It was a good movie. And then my sister had the soundtrack or something like that. But there were some good songs on it. I mean, there was some good 50s doo-wop kind of stuff. Like,
Yep.
The Night, I think, was on that. So for me, that was an awesome song. I mean, I got really into like that sort of Motown 50s pop thing. And I think influence on me.
Even the cheesy songs like Hungry Eyes and She's Like the Wind. I mean, it's like stuff your parents would listen to, but they're good songs. I mean, I'm all about those songs.
Absolutely. I was, I was really into Bryan Adams growing up. Bryan Adams and Stray Cats.
Mm-hmm.
And I was into Michael Jackson. I was into like top 40, but like I didn't like have a plethora of music. Like I kind of just had a few things, and I just listened to it to death over and over and over.
Mm-hmm. Did you do like cassette tapes, records?
Cassette tapes, for the most part, was what I started on. My parents never had a record player growing up, as far as I can remember.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really get records till I was into music, and like, okay, now I gotta get a record player.
Right.
Every All tape, or just about every All tape at the time, the band All,
Mm-hmm.
full collection. Once I was sort of like collecting music, and as soon as I was like almost done, CDs came out and like tapes were like,
Right.
like oh, and then I don't really like do that anymore. I don't collect. I mean, I have a lot of albums from people, but I don't try to collect everything from one band.
Right. All right. So we're gonna kind of close this out. I do a bit on here called "Turn It Up or Turn It Off." All right. I'm gonna name you 5 songs, and you simply tell me if you turn it up or turn it off. And I'm not gonna play the clips or anything. We don't have the money for that just yet. The first song is "Everybody Have Fun Tonight" by Wang Chung.
You know, I it's a tough one because sometimes I would say, ugh, it's a horrible. Sometimes I'd be like, I remember this song, Wang Chung, So that's a tough one for me. I'm going to have to go with Turn It Up.
Okay. And when it's a tie, it's "Turn It Up," I think.
Because I'm not saying that that the band is amazing or anything, but hey, that holds up in my childhood. That was like the beginning of, for me, listening to like these hit songs and kind of like paying attention to music. That was part of it, I guess.
Right. All right. Second song is MC Hammer, "Can't Touch This."
Turn it up.
Absolutely.
I used to jam that whole tape, but I had to, I don't know if you want me to tell stories about things.
Sure.
Caught me on a good day when I feel like talking. One of my chores growing up as a teenager was we had a wood stove, so we had a wood pile. I had to chop it, stack it, and then my chore was, okay, you got to bring wood in. So I had to like put wood in a wheelbarrow and wheel it up to our front door, put it on the front. So it's right outside our front door when we need it to bring it in. So that tape, I mean, I listened to a lot of different tapes over and over, but that was one, like when MC Hammer was just blown up, just huge. I was jamming "Can't Touch This" on my Walkman.
I was like, yeah, I was like, how's the wheelbarrow tie into MC Hammer? But yeah, that's, you can't listen to anything better when you're doing that, right?
Just, I would listen to whatever. I'd listen to like, I had to mow the lawn all the time, and I'd listen to the Colts. So Electric Ocean or whatever. Electric, I think the name of the album was. Great album. Turn that up too.
All right. Third one is New Sensation by InXS.
You know, it's kind of in the Wang Chung category for me. Like, yes, I probably wouldn't want to listen to the whole song. So let's, in the interest of keeping things a little more even, let's turn it down.
Okay. Now, the reason I put that in there is, I'm going to interject my opinion here. InXS, to me, is just a band that has a whole catalog of songs that I didn't, half of them you knew it was InXS, but the other half you're like, oh, InXS sings that? I like this one. And they just have like 15 or 20 great songs, and I kind of like rediscovered them within the last couple of years. And listening to the vinyl and stuff, I got that album, that New Sensation, I think Kick is the name of the album, and that whole record is good start to finish.
Actually, in my defense, I like a lot of their songs. Devil Inside, which my mom didn't like because it was like, the devil? What's good? Like, oh, God. All right. Love that song. There's that slow one or whatever. It's just such a great song. I can't remember the name of it.
Never Tear Us Apart?
Yes. I mean, that's a great song. Mm-hmm. I feel like in the interest of they got better songs, New Sensation's going down.
Okay.
But I agree with you. I don't necessarily listen to them, or haven't listened to them in a while. Great band. They remind me of, like, I don't know, the Australian Doors, but way more pop.
Right. And I think at the time they might have been considered like a boy band or something, but when you let time go by and you kind of listen to it again, it really is good. So,
especially when you compare with the crap they got going on right now.
Sure, absolutely. All right, Centerfold, Jay Giles Band.
Actually, I haven't heard it.
Oh, really? Well, let me sing it for you there, Mike. My blood runs cold. My angel is the centerfold. Na 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 na.
I've heard it. Sorry, I didn't know the
title.
I guess turn it down, since I didn't even recognize the name of the song.
Yeah, if it's not good enough to stick with you by now, I don't think you're going to get into it.
Wait, turn that one down.
All right, last one is Girl You Know It's True by Milli Vanilli.
I gotta admit that I've listened to some Milli Vanilli in my day. I definitely wouldn't turn it up now, but back in the day, I probably would have.
Yeah.
I realized rods.
Yeah.
Or covered.
Yeah. It's a shame, how they ended up. A tragic story, but
yeah.
I don't care who recorded the songs; they're great songs. I mean, you gotta take it for the song itself.
I agree. I would say this too, that if they came out now, it probably wouldn't even be that big of a deal. Mm-hmm. At the time, it was like, okay, you have to record and play. Just be honest with people. That's the main thing, honesty.
Yeah, that's actually an interesting point. I never thought of it that way. And how awful would it be when they had that record skip thing happen? Did you see that behind the music?
I probably saw a few clips of it. Yeah,
they were playing live, and Girl You Know It's True, and it just skips at the part like, Girl You Know It's Girl You Know It's Girl You Know, and and eventually after like 20 times they had to put the mic down and run off stage. So I don't know. Every musician's nightmare, I guess, right?
Not everyone. All right.
The one time that you lip sync. So
yeah.
All right. Well, Mike, let me mention again, Crocodile Rock on Hamilton Boulevard in Allentown, Friday, November 2nd. Going to be a great show. And Unwritten Law, another one of my favorite bands, but I have not seen them live in a while. And I think they're down to one original member. Is that, do you know anything about that? Or?
True.
Mm-hmm.
Original. Although they've had a lot of different guys in their band over the years, so it's a little different than, say, an MxPx, but I would say they're so much better now than they were when they started. Mm-hmm. Of course, all are, but they put on a really good show. I'm excited to be playing with them. They've come a long way, and they're a great live band. And it's all about, obviously, Scott. He's a singer. He's always been there, so it'll be good.
We'll check that out. All right, Mike. Thanks again. And people find you on Twitter at Mike Herrera TD, and Herrera is spelled Herrera.
Yep, that's right. Follow the tours and, my travels, and I always post pictures and fun stuff.
Great.
Yeah.
Anything else I'm forgetting to mention here?
We have a new album. It's called Plans Within Plans. So if you haven't already checked that out, please do. Hopefully it's a turn it up and not a turn it down. Thanks for having me, and I can't wait to get back to Pennsylvania.
You got it. Thanks, Mike.